Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hello, Dr. Elena. Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneur Show. Thank you so much for taking your time out to be here with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Jag. I'm very excited.
Great. It's our pleasure. So, Elena, if you can, start off by helping us understand what is that you really do, that'll be a good start.
Wonderful. So I am a psychologist, a PhD psychologist. I'm international. I have a subtle accent, and I do love anything that has to do with minds, and not just humans, living beings. I include animals as well, because I do think that humans are animals, a little more evolved. But and lately, I've even been involved with a little bit of AI programming, for whatever it's worth. Yes. That's in a
Great.
nutshell. I can go on and on, but okay, that's in a nutshell. I love minds, the potential of our minds. I think we've not even scratched the surface yet in as humanity, as living beings so far. And my vision in life and my commitment is to help us, myself included, maximize our potentials.
Great. So, growing up, were you clear that this is what you wanted to do? Do that your interest in minds is what's going to drive you? Or you had a different journey and then you shifted into it later? So, how did that go?
It was, that's a great question. Thank you so much, Jag. And I love to reflect on my journey, and I love to help our audience reflect on their journey too, because that's usually where you find all the answers you're looking for. That's from my experience. So I grew up in Italy, and the educational system there is slightly different than the US one. I'm in the US now. So I knew I was in love with my teacher. I started school. I started kindergarten at 2 years old. It was owned by the church, which I disagree with. I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. Then at age 5, I started elementary school, and I fell in love with the teacher and the way she was basically believing in us, and always happy and challenging us. She was a great teacher.
Right.
Daniela and Paula. And
Okay.
so I knew I wanted to be like her. I wanted to be an educator. And so I would make my grandparents sit in the chair for grandparents there, and I would give them lessons. I'll basically recite what I had learned in school, and I would teach them, and I would grade them, and they were so patient. And then, of course, they would run out of patience, and so I would teach animals. So I grew up in a farm, the Parmesan cheese dairy
Right.
farm. My family and relatives did own a lot of those Parmesan cheese farms. So we had anything, mainly dairy cows, but also lots of German shepherds to guard the farms, and the pigs, horses, and rabbits, and ducks, you name it. So I would make, and I'll listen.
Right.
Poor animals, I'll make them sit, and I'll teach them as well. So,
Right.
and then I realized that as I grew, maybe in middle school, so as I was 10 years old, that I really I really appreciated the wisdom of adults, and maybe kids were a little too much work. So I thought, okay, maybe instead of being a teacher, why don't I just focus on psychology? So that way I can include everybody, not just children. And in Italy, you have to pick a major at age 12 because high school are very specialized. So I picked the psychology
Okay.
high school. And because I was born at the end of the year, I would always start a little earlier.
Right.
And then at age 13, I met some international students, some from India, some from anywhere. And I thought, oh my goodness, I love this diversity here in Italy at the time. We're talking about in the 80s, without giving away my age. Um, everybody was not diverse. So pretty boring, you know? And I just loved talking to people from different backgrounds and different geographical locations and comparing and find out what they knew. And the sky's the limit. I've always been attracted to exploring and learning potentials.
Yeah.
And so I was fixated to move away from Italy and explore other
Oh,
countries.
okay.
And my parents, of course, being pretty good, protective, family oriented, where are you from exactly?
Bangalore, India.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
We're all
Very,
family oriented, yes.
yes, very, very, very family oriented, like Indians. Um, Now we have a lot of wonderful Indians living in Italy, and actually some of them also work at the farm where I grew up. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and they definitely treat the animals way better than the Italians do. So, um, and and so I wanted to move away from Italy to do high school, and my parents said, "Absolutely, you're too young. You're staying right here." And until I turned 20,
Okay.
and I basically ran away. They eventually forgave me, and I visit them every chance I get, and they visit me. So, so then I did all my schooling in the United States, like after high school, bachelor's, master's, and PhD, and a lot of certifications. And I'm still studying to this date, of course, to keep our licenses and certifications active. You have to keep up with continuing education. And I think it's very important in science because there's so many changes from the environment, and humans reflect these changes. And I want to believe we keep evolving for the better. And so a good professional, a good scientist has to keep in mind these changes and updates. I think a great entrepreneur also adapts and keeps up with the change in a timely
Right.
fashion. I started my own corporation in 2007, and basically I do offer consulting services to individuals and also corporations. So anything from psychometrics, organizational development, and I've worked with all countries, 180 countries, and
Wow.
5 continents, and I love that because I can really that's to me that's the secret, just combining all these great minds and what somebody somewhere has already discovered, we can repurpose it in another place, saving resources. Um, I think it's really, really important. I've done a ton of diversity, equity and inclusion and belonging work as well in corporations, and also with entrepreneurs, small, medium-sized businesses. And, I've had my own share of challenges, which I welcome and I overcame.
Right.
Um, And in 2010, I also opened a nonprofit that basically offers the same services to on a donation basis for those
Right.
who cannot afford it. And with the nonprofit, I also use a lot of animal assisted therapy or leadership, learning leadership through taking care of animals, etc., etc. Yes.
Great, great. Thank you for that. Uh, so you said you started your own corporation in 2007. What was it before 2007? The lead up to you starting. What are the reasons that led you to start your own consultation services?
Another great question. Thank you, Jag. So I graduated from my master's in 2000, and that was the first recession. And I was in San Francisco at the time,
Right,
and I was still on a student visa, basically. So I had to work towards a green card and being sponsored by a company and all, basically fixing my immigration status, which that by itself was a huge challenge. I'm a dual citizen now, which I became in 2010. So I mean, I've seen firsthand how I mean, I've done both. I've worked with other people. I've worked with startups and and freelance, and so I do understand business now better than I did back then. And business is basically people, like Sir Richard Branson very intelligently summarizes. So if you have great people that believe in the same vision and are aligned, you have a great business. If you
right,
have people who just don't understand what they're doing or don't agree, are aligned with your vision, then yeah. And so I don't believe in solopreneurship because you're never going to grow. I think business do grow at the extension you get help and you collaborate, which is not
right.
easy. Different personalities, different different working styles. It's like being married. uh,
Yes,
uh, Married to the business, so a lot to mitigate. And so yeah, it took me a while, and then I realized, unfortunately, we live in a litigious world, and the US is even probably more litigious. Not that I'm attached to any country, I come and go. All my business is virtual, 100% virtual. So I
right.
travel any chance I get for fun and pleasure. So I do think it makes sense to have some entity to protect you.
Yeah,
And also, I am directive as a personality. I like to take big risk. I like to be in charge. That makes me feel like I'm utilizing my potential. So if it's difficult for me to just not have a piece of not of the pie, but no, I don't mean it financially, but it's difficult for me to feel like I don't have a direct influence. I'm not making a big contribution. And the
right,
best way I know how to do it is to have your own business. And then,
right,
of course, you can still partner up, affiliate, whatever you want to call it, JV, joint venture with the third parties, which
right.
I do and I welcome.
Great. You started off saying that you got interested in how minds work and stuff, and therefore you had to do your formal education in psychology, and you did your master's you graduated in 2000. It's one thing to be interested in the things like how minds work, and it's another thing to be able to monetize that whole interest,
Mhm.
and to so when did you have a goal in your head? You also said, when you said a piece of pie, you said you didn't mean money. You wanted to contribute to the society that you're living in. So there is contribution, meaningful contribution, and then getting money as a result of meaningful contribution. While you were studying all these things, did you have in your mind a clear vision of what you were going to do, or did you have to figure it out only after your graduation?
I had a an idea of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to basically help people with psychological services, for lack of better words, which whether it's called mentoring or coaching or training or consulting or therapy or a combination of all. And I remember I've had many failures, and I've learned from those. They're all part of the journey,
Yeah.
even even if they're challenging at the time. So, for instance, in 2007, I wanted to pitch to to the network. I lived in LA, Los Angeles at the time. I wanted to pitch a coaching show, and I worked hard, and it was just not received. Not received. The world was not ready for it. Okay, so you can have a great idea, but
Yeah.
if your audience is not ready, is not ready. So Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey tried a few years later, and it was pretty epic failure for them as well. Now they have more money than I do, so for them was probably not as big of a loss, but maybe it was actually. But so sometimes you just don't know. So I'm Italian. I use the spaghetti analogy. So throw some spaghetti to the wall and see what sticks. So through feedback, survey, case studies, and see how it's received. But ultimately, it's just words. And until you actually do it and see how people respond, you don't know. That's why I had to learn marketing. Now I enjoy it because I think it's basically psychology. It's entering the consumer or client or patient, whatever you want to call, whomever's going to buy your services and products, entering their mind and realize what they really need and want. Nobody has the crystal ball or magic wand or is psychic. There's no such a thing.
Yeah.
Uh, Even if people tell you they are psychic, they're not. And so until they experience it, you don't know exactly how it's going to be received. So I try to adapt. Even now, there is a type of therapy that I did get certified in just for California.
Hmm.
And it's called ketamine assisted therapy. It's with a micro dose of ketamine that is FDA approved, and it
Great.
works a lot for anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. But these are all new, and so we're still figuring it out with doctors and psychiatrists. So and obviously we are post-pandemic. There are some phenomenon that have never happened before that we're trying to understand. Why are there so many homeless people? Why are there some people that take so many leave of absence at work? What is
Interesting.
causing that? And
Yeah.
sometimes they don't even know themselves. So sometimes it takes an entourage of professionals talking together and figuring it out with the help of the clientele and patients. So there's still so much to discover. And every day I do get literally hundreds of emails from research, and I pick two or three. There's no way I can read all of them, but I do my best, in terms of
Yeah.
what's new out there, what do people need these days with everything that's happening in the world, economy, climate changes, etc.
Got it, Elena. Elena, just going back a little, you spoke about different ways in which you offer your services, right? You said you spoke about mentoring, you spoke about coaching, you spoke about consulting. You just mentioned these words. Are they all? How different are they from each other, or is there any difference at all between each of those things?
Yes, there are. They're all complementary. It's all considered mental health. They work well with one another, but they come from different train of thoughts and methodologies and philosophies. So basically, coaching, I'm certified,
Right.
and so I use, but sometimes I give it my own spin
Of
because I'm a
course.
rebel. Um, so coaching is which is today the word coaching, because it's so new, is not always used appropriately. But what
Hmm.
is really supposed, to me, the key, the way I summarize coaching is that as a coach, you're able to ask the right questions, thought provoking questions to your client. And that way the client can dig inside of his heart or her heart or soul, whatever you want to call it, for the right answer. Because
Right.
again, nobody's got the crystal ball. The client does know when it feels right. If somebody tells them what to do, that's consulting. It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything to the client if they've not experienced it themselves, right?
Right.
But if they experience it themselves, then it means everything. So that's coaching and consulting. Mentoring is so I would be a great mentor for somebody younger than me who wants to reach the same level of success in this field, people, education, psychology, as I
Right.
have achieved. A great mentor for me would be somebody who older than me who has achieved higher levels of success in the field, in this science field of psychology. But I would not a good mentor for somebody who's wants to be a Hollywood star, because I'm not. You know what I mean? So that's mentoring, and therapy is focused on the past and healing those
Hmm.
traumas from the past, whereas coaching is actually a type of methodology we use in therapy, but it's very futuristic oriented. Let's set some goals and get there. But if somebody has not worked on the trauma from the past, is not ready to talk about future goals.
Right. Got it. Elena, what I understood so far from what you spoke, as a psychologist, in the kind of work that you do, it's important for you to keep yourself updated with the latest findings, and therefore you update yourself. But there's also survival. There's also money, and you have to also wear the hat of a salesperson or a marketing person. So what is the balance between the two? Is it equal? Is it 50-50? Or what's your mode of operation?
Yes, that's a great question. So every day I do one post on all social media platforms, and I'm going to use this great interview, thank you so much, as one of the posts. And there are ways and ways to post. Of course, I always like to ask a question and get people's feedback. If they don't like it, I want to know the truth. So next time I'll do better. So that probably takes me half hour. That's how much I allocate.
Right.
And I do have some interns that work with me. They also do some marketing on my behalf in exchange of school credits, etc. So I
Right.
leverage that as well. And they're from all over the world. I've had some in India too, and I want them to be from everywhere, so they can see what I don't see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then obviously I have to do the delivery. I do groups, couples, individuals. So the delivery right now is probably around 4 hours a day. I like it to be more.
Okay.
There's a little bit of admin, but I'm pretty fast with that by now. I have a system. And In terms of continuing education, I mean, I have to factor it in. It's probably half hour a day too, because if you keep it till the end, you won't be able to get recertified. But you won't have enough time. So some expires yearly, some are every 3 years. So I keep up with that. And so I
Mm,
partner up with third party companies. They do some marketing for
right.
me. And last but not least, let's see, what else do I use? Third party. I have my own website, more than one.
Okay.
I forgot one type of marketing I do besides the third party. Mm,
We can. Do you mind
yeah, sorry.
revisiting that at a later point? I'm sure you're going to remember that in the course of the conversation.
Thank you, thank you.
You know what?
I get some brownie points because it's 11 p.m. here, okay?
Oh, okay. Is that sunlight outside?
No, I turn on all my
Oh, right,
lights,
right,
all
right.
four of
Okay.
them, five with the one in the back, so it wouldn't be too dark, but it's pitch dark outside, even if it's full moon tonight.
Oh, okay. Got it. What I found really interesting, and what could be
Yes.
a takeaway for the listeners, is your idea about having interns from all over the world. And what
Yeah.
better organic way to kind of get visibility, or get to know about what's happening around the world. So that's amazing thing. I think I've never heard anybody use that one thing that you just said. Having
Oh
interns from
yeah.
all
Oh
over the
wow.
world. Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of interns because they win. They get experience.
Right.
They can land a great job after school. They get credit so they can graduate. I mean, I try to give them bonuses and perks. I remember what I was going to say now. So I also affiliate with third party, affiliate with associations. Some are international, like
Right. Right.
professional membership, like the Society of Training and Development, Society of Industrial Organizational Psychologists, blah, blah, blah. I have a list on my bio and resume if you're interested. And so also I belong to different Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and of professionals, and we sometimes give each other clients because maybe they are already at
Filled up.
capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's great. Could you talk a little bit more about the intern piece, if you
Sure.
don't mind? What are the exchanges that happen, and yeah, how does it work? What do interns expect from you, and what in turn do you get from interns?
Sure. Okay, so interns are usually they start unpaid
Right.
because I don't know, and they usually don't have any experience. But
Yeah.
the good thing about that is that they're young, they learn fast, they're like sponges, they're way better than me at technology, AI, all of that. And so, and usually they need, even I had to do it when I graduated from my bachelor's in 99. I had to do 3 mandatory internships, and that helped unpaid, sometimes little pay, some tips, and they helped me land some great work right after because I could have a resume, a CV, and endorsements and references and so on. Or otherwise, you don't have any.
Right.
So usually they start unpaid. Sometimes all they can give me is 3 months. I usually have more than one, and sometimes they can give me longer. I've had some from India, really good, and in exchange, I'll write any letter of reference for them. They can, or to their university, so they can graduate. And I mean, they obviously get experience because they shadow me, um, and they get experience. So I
Okay.
don't give them too much. I see how much time they have. If all they can do is half hour a week, I give them one thing and one thing only. Let's say LinkedIn groups.
Mm,
I ask them usually what they love to do, and then I
right.
just stick with that one thing. If I see that they do well and they can handle more, then I can give them a second. task. But yeah, I usually keep one intern for one specific task each.
Got it, Elena. And how do you go about finding these interns?
In the past, I used different websites, but lately I just use LinkedIn. I have a business page and I post a job post.
Oh, right. And then they reach out to you and then you select. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Got it. Got it.
Normally take everybody.
Have there been instances where your interns have helped you get businesses from the countries that they are in?
Oh,
Has that
yes.
happened?
Yeah,
Okay.
it has. Absolutely. Yes. So I work, yeah, absolutely. Yes. So I'm not religious at all. I'm spiritual. So I had a great one, Wakas from Pakistan. And so thanks to him, he introduced me to several Muslim women and in business leaders. And I've worked with them and it
Great.
was very pleasant. Yeah.
Great. Great. So, um, apart from, say for example, you said the way you go about your sales is, you have a very organized way of approaching it. You have a post ready to put it on all platforms on the social media. Is there any specific social media platform that is, that's on top compared to all the others, or do you get equal kind of clients from all of the platforms?
Well, I do all of them. Don't discriminate because some people like others more than others. I mean, Facebook is considered for old people. The
Right.
Instagram is for millennials. TikTok is for the Gen Z and younger. But I do all of them, and like sometimes you don't even know there are some really young, wealthy people that need help these days. Wealthy because they are making money with AI, etc. Something that my parents, who are in their 70s and are on Facebook, will never do or never be able to catch on or understand.
Got it, Arena.
Yeah.
And again, going back to your interest in human minds, and any living thing's got a mind and stuff. You must have had a certain vision or expectation. So did you come across, did you have any misconceptions that got broken later, as you kind of progressed in your journey? What were those misconceptions that you thought, oh, this is how it's going to be, but the reality is different? Did you have any such moments in your journey?
Yes and no. I do believe as humans, we all have the same needs of being loved, of having some sense of security, just like Maslow hierarchy of needs, roof, some safety. We all love to travel and explore and travel. The differences are probably what you were exposed to. If you had supportive teachers, supportive parents, if you had a chance to study formal education, maybe travel. So not everybody's got the same chances. Of course,
Yeah.
that's why I have the nonprofit to give everybody a chance. Luckily, I don't come from a rich family. My parents, though, taught me to work hard and save and be honest and do your best. So it is yin and yang, and that's for everybody. Do we have the can we be mean? Yes, we can. If I'm being mean, maybe sometimes, if I were angry, probably. But thanks to the work I do, hopefully most times I can operate out of love instead of anger if somebody hurt me, and do what's best for everybody, for the other person. So I am in the business of servicing others, helping others. Yeah, some cases are tougher than others. Some cases get mad at me for no reasons, because maybe I remind them of some problems they've had, or maybe there is some miscommunication. Maybe my style is a little pushy, uh,
Mm.
because I want people to, I want to see results, and I want people to get results. So perhaps sometimes I could use a little more patience, but it always comes from good intentions.
Thank you for being so candid about these things.
Thank you. So
uh, Elena, you
yeah,
said luckily
yeah.
you are not from a rich family. Why did you say that?
I said luckily.
Yeah,
Oh, I did.
yeah.
Oh, um,
Or you did you not? Sorry, I may have. Did I hear it wrong?
I don't think I said luckily, but I do think I made the best out of it,
Right,
because if I were provided everything, I would not have figured out a way, and maybe I would. Things come too easy, you don't even appreciate them. So my
right,
parents always kept me on a from age 9, they kept me on a strict budget. Well, I had, like, at the time it was like 50,000 liras, nothing, uh, which is basically like, I don't know, $50 now. But with that, I had to buy a month. I had to buy textbook, school uniform, any candies. I loved candies, like everything. That was not much, and I'll always run out of money. And so
right,
then I'll have to get creative and go to my neighbors and relatives and ask for like random jobs, like wash their cars in exchange for money, etc.
right. Got it. Uh, Elena, you also said you've worked with people from different countries, a lot of countries. Yes, as you said just a while back, as human
Yeah,
beings, we all like to be loved. We'd like to be have a good sense of security about a lot of things.
yeah.
But a- apart from these things, have the countries, the culture of the countries played a role in any psychological problems that people may have had? In that case, what are the broad differences that you've seen? The moment, let's say, for example, the moment you have a client from a country like India or the subcontinent, did you kind of know that, oh, you know what? These are the kind of problems people from this place have, whereas people from Europe may have completely different sort of problems. So what would be the broad differences if you have a certain pattern?
That's a great question. And personally, I don't like to focus on the differences. I like to focus on what we have in common. So,
Right,
of course, I have to be sensitive. Like right now, I have a Jehovah Witness. She doesn't like, they don't believe in hypnosis. That's okay. I won't do it with her. There's a million other strategies and methodologies I can use that she's comfortable with. We have many tools in the tool belt. I do wh- I purposefully, when I have somebody in front of me, I don't see. I want to see what's in their heart and in their brain, and that nothing else matters. If they've not been exposed to certain tools or information, I try to provide it if they're open to it. So I meet them where they're at. I don't care if they're green or purple, or if they have, I'm pretty international. I have a strong accent still. And I hope I've been discriminated against because of my accent. And in my younger days, my English wasn't so good anyway. But so I know what that's like.
right,
And to me, we're all the same. We all have a mind and a heart, and we want the same things. Then there's many ways to get there depending on what kind of lifestyle one person wants, yeah, or choices they make. I try to support them with what they want, because it's their life, not mine, right? I try to, though, make it easy for them, and maybe if they don't see something, ask, what about this? Have you ever thought about that?
Right.
Has helped some other clients of mine. Could it help you? If
Right.
they want it, great. If not, we look at something else.
Got it, Elena. Elena, thank you for sharing about the point about you being discriminated. Because I just have a question on behalf of people. There are people who realize that being international helps them in so many ways because it's a bigger market for you. But then there are a lot of people who are hesitant to go international because of the fear of being discriminated, or because of the fear of establishing a connection, because um, there is so much to kind of equip yourself before you can go and connect with a person of another country, right? First thing could be language, and even if you get better at language, there's accent. So my question here is, when you're being discriminated, what is your approach? Do you figure out a way to find out why you're being discriminated and fix yourself for that, or do you have a standard way of pushing back the discrimination and trying to kind of show them, hey, you know what, you're discriminating, don't do that? How do you deal?
So, I mean, when I was discriminated, I was 20 years old in Kansas, which is not very diverse, or it
Yeah.
wasn't at the time. And I didn't even realize that I was being discriminated against until later. But yeah, I was hurt. But usually, I'm the type of person who just doesn't. I don't let stuff like that take me out of my goals and game for too long. I pick myself up. Okay, I may cry, but I'm back up. These days, I use the international at my advantage. So in even in my YouTube videos or posts, I always say, "Hi, I'm Dr. Pezzini, Italian American." So they know that, okay, they don't have to guess and be distracted all post long. Okay, what does
Right.
she know? Where is she from? We don't care, because they know I'm a doctor, so I'm not an idiot. At least I put some heart, sweat and tears,
Mm.
blood, sweat and tears
Right,
into
right, right, right.
getting an education. They know I'm dual. So it's sometimes I figure with the internet, if they so I put to answer your question, I say it right away so they don't have to guess, and then if they resonate with me, great, they'll keep listening. If they don't, still they'll go to somebody else who's they feel closer to, which is fine.
Right.
There's enough for everybody to go around. I may have an accent that reminds them of a bad experience they've had, so they don't want to work with me. Fine, they'll work with a colleague, and so on and so forth.
Wow, thank you, thank you so much. I asked you this question because I had a conversation with somebody, a teacher in my circle, who teaches online, and sometimes she encounters international students, and she being in India, she experiences a slight change in attitude. And I was just wondering, this is a very different sort of a discrimination, very indirect way of discrimination, or whatever you want to call it. But then, they feel uncomfortable. And I think you might have given very simple solution. Instead of making them guess, you go upfront, be upfront about where you're from, who you are, and maybe that confidence in which you tell yourself that, yeah, I'm from here, maybe it helps. I felt that it's going to help, so I'm definitely going to pass on this information, or maybe share this video. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And I was talking about the differences that you see in people from different countries, and then you said they're all the same. I'm going to ask you another differences. Do you find
And you
any?
know why they're all the same? Because we have the internet, so we copy from each other.
Right. Yeah,
Like, so it's a good thing.
it is. It is. You've actually made a statement that is going to make this even more interesting. So, you said there are also wealthy people, there are also rich people out there, who've got problems and who'd like to, have a psychologist helping them out. Now, this world is majorly filled with people with not so much money. There are very few people that's got a lot of money, and a lot of people that's not got a lot of money. So, is there any differences in the kind of problems the rich people or the
Yeah,
wealthy
no,
people?
it's the same. if they're high profile VIP, somewhat famous, they want complete confidentiality, which regardless, everybody,
Right,
even if
right,
they are not as wealthy, we have very strict ethics and regulation to maintain privacy and confidentiality. But honestly, I treat everybody the same. Yeah, I market to high profile people because they have more money. But uh, um,
but you also run a non-profit, so I think it's good.
yes, exactly. I do both. Yes. But I treat them the same because really at the end of the day, there are more, they have the same problem. They also get depressed. They also get hurt. They also struggle with time management. They also struggle with maybe a partner who left them.
Right.
They're humans. At the end of the day, one day when they die, who cares how much money they had?
Yeah.
They're still going to leave behind, hopefully, a legacy and good lessons to their kids. And hopefully they've done something to contribute to this lifetime and this world to make it a better place. But you don't need that much money. It depends also on where you live. I do a lot about money management, psychology of wealth, and psychology of money.
Right.
So some people have a lot of money, but they still have mental problems about it. Like they feel in their head that they don't have any, and they stress
Wow.
about it, and they don't enjoy life,
Okay.
which was sad.
Got
It's all about budgeting, really.
got it. Got it, Elena.
Mhm.
And there's another question that I want to place it in front of you just to get your opinion on this. It's from a movie that I saw. There's a line that the protagonist says that we all have problems, but it's better to face. It feels a little better to face these problems with a lot more money with you. Uh,
Yes.
well, in this case, because I'm talking to you, I'm talking about psychological problems. Would that statement be any relevant? Is that true? Do you also think so? It's better to deal with your problems with a little more money. And there is a reason I'm asking this question. I'll get back to it after this.
Yeah. Okay. So money is a tool and can help, but sometimes can not help. Uh,
Right.
if um, if you're so paranoid because maybe you think somebody's going to steal it or you're going to get kidnapped,
Right.
you know,
Right.
live
Right.
life, then you may as well not have money and have not be famous and enjoy life. Because as far as
Right.
I know, we only get one life. The rest is unknown. So um, ask me the question. I want to tell you something else about money. Ask me the questions again, please.
Yeah. Sure. So there's this line, right? They say we all have problems. In this case, let's stick to psychological problems. And is it better to
Sure.
be richer to deal with these problems? Does it help to be richer? Does
No,
it help to have more money to deal with
no,
these
no,
problems?
no, it doesn't, because just look at these wealthy people, right? Like have zero privacy, really high profile. To me, it's priceless. Like having the freedom to do what you want and to do what you love in life. And money usually comes when you really do what you love and you use your talents to help others. Money comes. The more people you help, the more money will come. Now, I do value time much more than money, because
Right.
it's 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 not, time is not infinite. We all know we have a limited amount of time on this earth, without being religious or anything. And and it's not that difficult to make money, so it's a formula usually. But time, we've not figured out how to live forever. So
Yeah.
people who waste my time really upset me greatly. But
I can
money,
relate to that.
even if I lose it, which I've had money stolen, I've lost money with stupid investments. Okay, I get upset, but not that much, not as much as like wasting time, that, because I know, oh my goodness, I'll never gain that year back, or whatever it was. Yeah.
Right. And just another question on this topic, and then
Yeah,
we can move on to another one.
sure.
I've done my fair bit of research to understand what are the why, because there was a period of time like a few years back, depression was being spoken about largely, and then I was finding it a little difficult to relate to people who were depressed just because maybe I wasn't. But not that I was dismissing it. I did realize that, look, they must be having some problem, and hence they're being vocal about it. And then while I was doing that, I came across this line somewhere, when survival is taken care, that's when your mental problems start. As long as you're just surviving, you're too busy with survival. Is
Hmm.
that true? Is that, does your psychological problems start once your survival is taken care of in a very comfortable way? Is that true?
um I think there are exceptions. So, for instance, so in general, depression is when you stay in the past. You don't move. You don't snap
Ah,
out of it or move
right,
forward. Anxiety. If you have anxiety, it's because you're too worried about the future. You are in the future, not in the present.
right, right,
So, and of course, there are, we all need help. If somebody's chronically or consistently depressed, they need some help, professional help. Okay. And which means they need to get out of their head and focus on somebody or something else, because if they stay with their own thoughts, they're going to go
right,
clinically crazy. They need to externalize those recurring negative thoughts. And
right.
the good news is that there are solutions. So, to answer your question, like, there is a movie that came out here recently. I saw it 2 weeks ago. It's called Sound of Freedom, and it's about child trafficking. Um,
Oh, okay.
so, sex trafficking with children.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
there are people who don't believe it. Um, if there are such cases, which unfortunately I believe there have been,
Hmm.
um, these kids, I mean, it's good, that's depressing. If you think your childhood was basically like horrifying, and that's gonna take I don't I that's gonna take a lot of serious professional work to help them. And so in that case, they were children, they don't have their needs met, and they're basically sold as sex slaves. They don't know any better. Sometimes they're 5 or 6 years old. I mean, you can just imagine, so, and unfortunately, mental health is not even perfectly equipped for that yet. I mean, we're trying, but there is more to discover. There is more we can do to help. Yeah. So, to give you an exception, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. It does. Thank you for that, Elena. And another thing that I wanted to ask was, you mentioned chronic depression. So are there conditions where it's beyond one's own control, where they say it's unfortunately part of the genetics? So is there no way out for those people, whose psychological problems stem as a result of their genetics?
So, I want to believe that there is always hope. There are always solutions.
Right.
If there are tests that evaluate where you are in terms of depression, that should be administered by a professional. like a psychologist. So after that, though, if it gets to that point, you also have to collaborate with a medical doctor because you have to check everything else, blood, if there is maybe an injury in the brain. So maybe for further exams
All right.
have to be done. And, so you have to collaborate with other professionals whose specialty is just that. See if there is any cranial uh, trauma or damage, and maybe a psychiatrist as well. And then all together, we all try to help, with with what we know. Everybody has a specialty, but we have to
Yeah.
come together. If there are severe cases, it takes an entourage of professionals. And I've seen this with animals as well, because animals do have emotions, they do get depressed. And sometimes if they rescue, which I've had many, you don't know, you don't know what happened to them. They don't speak, so it takes a cardiologist, it takes a neurologist, it takes different profession. Everybody can put their minds together and try to help. Yeah.
Got it, Alina. Thank you so much. We'll move on from these difficult topics. Now on to a little bit
Can
more
ask
about your.
me anything. And if I don't know, like in this case, I will tell you where to go.
No, I meant difficult not from knowing or not, but these are sensitive things. These are in the sense, it doesn't necessarily put you in a nice state of mind. It takes you a little
Yeah,
somber and
but
stuff like that.
I'm happy you're asking, because it's important. There is nothing to be ashamed. It's a human emotion. It's a human state. And it happens, has
Yeah,
happened to all of us. Hopefully it doesn't stay for too long. You snap out of it and you have professional help. But if you don't talk about it, that's the problem. Then bad things can happen. So I'm glad it's all out in the open.
great. Thank you. Um, just to help out, people from a business point of view, you did speak about, putting out posts on different social media and stuff like that. And I'm sure, you have your regular flow of individual clients that you get. But what about, what are you more inclined towards? Are you more inclined towards corporate sort of projects, or do you prefer individual projects? Like, what's your take on that, and how do you go about both of these?
Yeah. So I have more experience with corporate. I've done it for longer
Right.
because I've noticed that things change. The economy completely dropped at the beginning of the year, especially for me. And I see the phenomenons that I'm observant, that are happening out there. So I now took on clinical as well, and I do have you have to pick clinical. I can only offer in one state at a time. Um,
Right.
so for now, probably I'll be able to offer in more states, but I have to take the board exam, blah, blah, blah. So I'm under a clinical supervisor for California.
Right.
So I do now, I want to be able to discover something new. And really having a PhD, that's what it is all about, right? That you know how to come up with some new research that has not been discovered before. So I've seen in the past 25 years of my work that there isn't a bridge between the person at work, the worker, and the person in their private life. So at work, nobody wants to talk about therapy because it's taboo.
Right.
But it's the same person that comes from home. If the person had anxiety and depression at home, you're going to bring that to work. And then at
Right.
work, cannot really talk about it because emotions are not allowed. And vice versa. If work becomes so stressful that causes anxiety, that person is going to bring the anxiety and depression to their family member at home. So I think there has to be a bridge between the two, work and private life. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's my mission. So thank you for asking. And it's still at the very beginning. And but that's my goal. And of course, I also have to work with all the government limitations. That's why I have to
Right.
have separate websites. I have to do separate posts. Blah blah blah. I won't bore you with, but that's my personal mission, because I want to be able. I think the person is happier if that person can be the same in both environments, work and home.
Got it, Elena. Uh, Probably the final aspect of this podcast is to discuss a little bit about the tools that enable your business. And when we talk about tools, technology and software is pretty unavoidable today. You have websites, you have multiple websites and stuff like that. So what are the software tools that you use as part of your profession for a seamless business experience?
Yeah, I try to be open to anything because everybody's got their own preferences. So I work with some companies that just want to use Microsoft Teams, so I use that. Personally, I like Zoom. Right now, I've never used this technology you sent me today,
The
so but
Riverside,
looks
yeah.
like it's working great. And so some companies have their proprietary platforms, which could be called whatever, and so I use theirs. And so I use them all. And social media, I literally use them all. I know there are ways to use software that blasts, and which I have used in the past, that blasts the same post everywhere, like
Right.
Hootsuite, blah blah blah.
Hootsuite, yeah, yeah.
Pick what is it? Picker something. But I honestly, I'm so fast. I copy and paste everywhere. It takes me. I did it tonight while I was walking with a group, so I mastered it.
Great. So
Mhm.
it's just a video conferencing tool and your social media posts. That's about it. Has there been a situation where you'd have to continue an engagement with a group of people who were your clients for a longer time than just a day or two? And has there been times when you had to kind of share documents, let them access files, you accessing files and stuff like that? Has there been situations like that? And I did understand that when you said when you work with corporates, they work with a certain set of tools and you will have to adapt to those tools. But when you're working individually, has there been a need for you to have your own system in place for your individual clients to access stuff?
Sure. So to share, I always try to give extra. So and share resources. So I use Google Drive. I know it's not perfect, but
Right.
some people use Dropbox, OneDrive, Cloud. That's fine if that's what they want to use. And let's see, for I use Gmail. I have my own site, but they all go to Gmail. But I
Right.
also have
Right.
Proton. It's free. Proton Mail, which is
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
supposed to be more encrypted. Who knows? I have that too if needed. I use Google Voice. I use everything. Yeah.
Great. And final question: do you also teach people apart from coaching them in terms of courses? Do you create courses for people? Are you also an educator teacher?
So I'm asked to teach at university, and actually I'm meeting with somebody soon. That's usually more to give back because it pays very little and it's
Right.
a lot of work. But I try, yeah. And then every time I go to Italy, which is usually once a year, except during COVID, I'd like to do an in-person leadership retreat. And I don't charge for my time. I only charge for the activities because I have to rent a place. So let's say we do visualizations in the castle and there is an entry to get to the castle, that they'll pay for that.
Right.
Which is minimum, and it goes to help, renovations. Or if we do yoga at the beach with dogs, doga, or depending, or if we live
It's called Doga.
doga, yeah. so,
Okay.
so I try. So I just so actually it's set for next year. Is You see it on my website. It's a leadership retreat, and whomever wants to come and needs to sort of like combine some education with vacation, that they have a chance.
Got it, Elena. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I've, whatever topics that I wanted to cover, I've done it, and you've been generous to talk a lot about all of the things that I spoke to you about. So thank you so
My
much.
pleasure. My pleasure. You're great. Thank you for asking these great questions.
Thank you, Elena. It's been a pleasure.